Hey guys, it's Brittany at Dahlia Vine Flower Farm. You are seeing this video because you got one of our cut flower garden in a box kits, and we wanted to do a little video to kind of help you guys know what to expect when you pick up. A lot of you guys this year are actually repeat customers and have gotten a box from us almost every year for the last 4 or 5 years, so thank you guys. But if you have never gotten a cut flower garden box from us, there's a few things that you should know before you come and pick up. We also wanted to show you guys how to pinch things. So every year is a different growing season. Every year brings us some surprises. This spring has been unseasonably warm, followed by some random cold spurts. So things are a little bit tall this year. The zinnias and the cosmos are about 2 weeks ahead of schedule. And the celosia, they do not like these dips down into the cool weather. The celosia is about 2 weeks behind, so they're going to be a little bit smaller when you get them this year. But they're going to grow just fine. They're going to grow gorgeously. So trust the process. If you've never gotten a cut flower box from us before, when you pick up, what you should not expect to have a tray that is in full bloom like you would see at like Lowe's or Home Depot. So when you buy flowers that are actually already in bloom, they're actually already on their way downhill. We don't want these guys in full bloom yet. They need to grow a lot more before they start to bloom. So everything that you get is going to be green, very lush, very healthy, but it's up to you. Plant them in your garden, give them a couple weeks, you're going to take care of them, and then they're going to start blooming for you. They should bloom all the way through summer for you if you take good care of them. So right here I have almost a complete cut flower garden kit before I have pinched them. So you can see with these crazy warm bouts of weather, the cosmos and the zinnias are very tall this year. They really stretch when we get these warm bouts of weather. Same thing with the marigolds over here. They are also very tall this year. The snapdragons, they're good size this year, a little bit smaller than last year. They're going to do just fine. We've got our gomphrena over here. Those guys are a little bit tall this year too. Celosia we haven't yet pulled out of the greenhouse. We're giving a couple extra days in there just to see if we can move them along a little bit further. But I'm going to show you guys how we pinch them. So this year, with how far along everything is with the zinnias and the cosmos being about 2 weeks ahead of time, we are going to go ahead and pinch all these boxes for you guys so that they are ready when you pick them up. You typically don't want to pinch the plants and transplant them the same day because that can be a lot of stress on the plants. You want to space out when you're stressing the plants out. So we're going to pinch these all today, and then in a couple days when you guys pick them up, they'll be ready to transplant out immediately, and you can hopefully kind of avoid some of that transplant shock that sometimes can happen with plants. So this is what they're going to look like today. Once they're fully pinched, they're going to look like this. So they're going to be a little bit less impressive looking, but this is exactly what we want. So if it's your first time growing cut flowers, a very important part of the process is pinching the plants. If you do not pinch the plants, and by pinching, I mean we're essentially cutting the plant almost in half to encourage more flowers. If you do not pinch the plant, you will get one giant bloom at the top, and then essentially when you cut that bloom off, you'll be pinching it and kind of starting from zero again. So by pinching them early, you're encouraging them to get a lot of lateral stems, a lot of blooms. The harder you pinch, the more blooms you're going to get. And pinching is normally the hardest part of gardening if you have never grown cut flowers before, because it seems like you're chopping almost all of the plant off, but I promise you it's exactly what you need to make sure you get lots of blooms. So we're going to do the scary part for y'all and go ahead and pinch everything, and then it's ready to transplant out. So like I said, this is a box that has already been pinched, and I'm going to go through and pinch this box with you guys so you can see what it looks like as I'm pinching them, and then we'll go over it with you guys when you pick them up as well. So this box right here, so I'm going to pull out, let's get this up here so you can see it. So I've got my marigolds right here. These are the cocos, gold and orange, which are gorgeous. So you see how nice and tall these plants are. So how we're going to pinch them, and don't audibly gasp when you see me pinching these plants because we're going to pinch them a lot. But like I said, the harder you pinch, the more blooms you're going to get. So we essentially are going to be taking these plants and we are going to be chopping them almost in half. And let me do this one and then I'll kind of explain the thought process behind why we do that. Okay. So this tray of marigolds has been pinched. They're about half the size. We've taken off all of these. So when you pinch them like this, they're going to have one set of leaves up here like this. These small leaves down here, these are called false leaves. They're going to actually yellow and fall off. They're not true leaves. That's what happens. So if when you pick up, you see a couple of these, they look like a little yellowing at the bottom. They're actually supposed to do that. You can pluck them off if you want to, or they're just going to kind of fall off naturally on their own. But we've left this first set of leaves up here and we've pinched them just above that first set of leaves. So now since we've pinched them, right here where this leaf connects to the stem, these are lateral shoots. We're going to start to get stems growing out of these lateral shoots. So this isn't going to make you have twice the amount of flowers. And then in the summer, or in a couple weeks, once you start cutting flowers off them, essentially every time that you cut, you're re-pinching the plant. So where you cut that flower from, 2 more lateral stems are going to come up. So we pinch hard. It looks scary. It seems like you've just like killed your plant and chopped it in half. I promise you have not. This is actually going to give you an absolutely gorgeous garden. So the marigolds, they've been chopped in half. The greens, you can just discard them. We're going to toss them over there. Okay, zinnias actually tend to look a little bit scarier when you pinch them because they look even more like you've chopped them in half. So these guys, we are going to do the same thing. We're going to cut down to that first leaf set right there. Okay, all right, so this guy's been pinched. Same thing. He's going to have these little kind of tiny lateral buds that are going to start shooting out. But that guy's been pinched. He's ready to go. Let's pinch the rest of these guys. And same thing with the zinnias. At the very bottom, they have those, the first leaves are actually false leaves. They're going to look yellow. They're going to be maybe a little bit shriveled up. You can pull them off if you want to, or just kind of let them fall off naturally. And I pinch hard. Like I said, I pinch down to that first leaf set. It's going to encourage, the lower you can pinch, the more bushy the plant's going to be, because the lower you pinch, the bigger the laterals. All right, so we are on to, we did our zinnias, we did our marigolds. Now we're moving on to the cosmos. Cosmos are so tall this year. So same thing, we're gonna pinch these guys hard because we want them to be nice and bushy and full of blooms. Let's see, I'm gonna do a couple little bit shorter on this guy. One's there. So again, I'm just pinching right above a leaf set. This guy's pinched, he's ready to go. Same thing as before. You can see these little leaves at the bottom. These are the false leaves. Same thing, pull them off, leave them on there, doesn't really matter, but they will fall off eventually. Pinching our second set. All right, cosmos are pinched. Onto our Gomphrena. This is our Gomphrena right here. We're gonna pinch these hard. They're gonna be almost like more than halfway cut down. So I'm gonna pinch these guys almost all the way down here. Gomphrena, you want them to be really extra bushy because of how the shoots come out of the plant. So that is pinched. That's ready to plant out, believe it or not. Snapdragons. These ones I'm just gonna pinch the tops off. So we're essentially just gonna be pinching those very, very little tops off. Same thing, they are gonna bloom out of those laterals, and the more that you pinch, the harder they're gonna come back. The majority of the snapdragon seedlings, they have multiple snapdragon seedlings per cell. So you guys are getting a little bit extras this year with these guys. So each of these little cells right here has 2 snapdragon plants kind of tight together with them. So you've got a little bit of extra snapdragons this year, which is fantastic. Let's snip these guys. So I'm just kind of snipping the tops of these ones off. So right there. And it's called pinching because you really could even just take your finger and just pinch out that very top part. But like I said, we pinch hard on the farm because it makes our plants more productive. Push those out. Okay. All right, so we've pinched our marigolds, our zinnias, our cosmos, our snapdragons, our Gomphrena. Our celosia and our ageratum are still in the tunnel. In the greenhouse, we're letting them warm up a little bit more, hoping to get a little bit more growth in them before we give them to you guys. They're going to be growing just fine for y'all. They're just a little bit, about 2 weeks behind this year. Celosia does not like when it gets cold. If we have these weird kind of random bouts of cold snaps, it's going to try to bolt, which means that it's going to try to send up shoots of flowers, and you don't want that to happen yet. So this is a different variety of celosia that's a little bit further on. But this should not already be flowering like this. So it's sending up these shoots because it's getting cold. It's thinking it's the end of the season. It wants to flower. That's its job. It wants to set seed. So it's bolting. We don't want that. So when you plant out your celosia, if you start to see some plumes form at the top and they're still about this short, you need to pinch them. And sometimes we will pinch our celosia multiple times in the field in spring because they'll bolt, they won't bolt, and you'll essentially just keep pinching them. So these guys, how we would pinch these with them bolting is we would essentially cut them in half. So we pinched all of these off, and you can sort of already see on this one all the little laterals that are starting to shoot off. These laterals are going to grow. If in about 2 to 3 weeks we're having some more cool weather and you start to see those buds forming on the laterals, you can actually pinch the laterals, and then you've essentially created another pinch all along the plant. You don't want them to bloom just yet. Same thing with the marigolds, the zinnias, and the cosmos. If you see blooms in the next 2 to 3 weeks, it's too early. You don't want them to bloom yet. Keep pinching those blooms out to creating more laterals. Alright guys, one more thing I wanted to show you. So these are some zinnias that we are experimenting with this year to see if we can get blooms by the end of May. It's going well so far. So these have been out in the field for about 2 weeks already. You can see they're much shorter than the ones that you guys are going to be getting, because those guys really love the warmth in the greenhouse. But these guys, I pinched them a couple days ago. So I wanted to show you what will happen after they get pinched. So these ones have been pinched, and if you look right here, we pinched right here, this little stub. We kind of chopped this guy in half, and you can see there is a bud or kind of a stem starting to form at the base of where we pinched it at that lateral. So there will actually be a stem that comes out of here. There'll be a stem that comes out this other side right here. And then by also doing that, you're encouraging the levels below it to start blooming out too. So you can see right here and right here, there's 2 more blooms that are going to be coming out from there. And then even below that, there are 2 more buds that are forming right there. So by pinching this plant, we've essentially now created 6 stems of flowers that will be coming off of this one plant. They're going to grow out like this. Then when you go to trim that stem, you're going to be essentially pinching it again, and then the next row of laterals are going to come out of the base of the stem that you pinched. So like I said, pinching is scary. It's hard to do when you're a first-time gardener because you feel like you're killing the plant, but you are not. Pinch hard, pinch often. We're doing the first round of pinching for you guys, but I just wanted you to see kind of what the results of pinching is and what you guys should expect to see in the next week or 2 as they start to bloom out of the laterals. All right, so we've got all of these guys done. They're ready to pinch. So we're gonna have all the boxes completely pinched for y'all, ready to transplant out. When you go to transplant out, if you are going to transplant out your snapdragons, what I highly recommend doing is getting, this is just a fabric staple. It's like an old rusty one I found in the field. But the snapdragon roots are pretty fragile. So normally what I recommend doing is if you're gonna pull it out of the tray, take your, use it like tweezers, stick it in there and then pull. See, that one's not pointing to come out very well. Pull the whole thing out like that so the roots stay intact. The other ones are a little bit hardier. You can kind of pull the whole thing out. Just be careful, be gentle as you're pulling. So you can see the marigolds right here. Other thing when you transplant out that's pretty helpful is if you kind of pull, disrupt the bottom of the roots just a little bit, just to encourage them to kind of keep going down and finding soil. So just disrupt that a little bit before you plant them out. But the garden boxes are looking great this year. Like I said, just don't be surprised when you come to pick them up and they've all been pinched for you. It's kind of giving y'all a head start. But when you pick them up, they're immediately ready to transplant out. You should get them transplanted within like 48 hours of getting them from us. Give them a good water in. Another thing, if you're planting them out, it looks like next week's going to be very rainy. What I would recommend doing is getting Sluggo Plus. You can like order it on Walmart, on Amazon. It can be a little bit pricey. It is organic. It's OMRI rated. But if we have a very wet and rainy next couple days, the slugs will come out and eat your seedlings. And if you wake up in the morning and the leaves are just gone and they're just stubs, the slugs got to your seedlings. So grab yourself some Sluggo, just put it down preventatively. You kind of sprinkle it around the perimeter of your garden, follow the instructions on the label, just to make sure that the slugs don't eat your seedlings, because they will kind of destroy them in a night. And like I said, if you go out and you just see a stick, the leaves are gone, it's slugs. So get some Sluggo, sprinkle that down. I have a lot of people ask me every year what we use to fertilize. It's gonna be dependent upon what your soil looks like, the composition of your soil, but a very good kind of gentle fertilizer that pretty much anyone can use, and it's hard to overdo it, is a natural fertilizer like fish and kelp. We get them in these big gallons just off Amazon, but you could get anything that's like a fish or kelp emulsion. It's a very natural fertilizer. This is going to be very important in the early stages when there's a lot of green growth going on. You could put this in a watering can, follow the directions, and water it in just once a week. Don't go overboard with it. You don't want to get too much green growth. But anything that is just like a fish or kelp emulsion is a good, gentle fertilizer that you can use. Please reply to this email. Let us know if you guys have any questions. But otherwise, we'll see you this weekend. Happy planting and good luck with your gardens this year.